This is a special report from La Plata County, Colorado.
We're reminded of Jim McKay's words from Munich. Our greatest hopes and our worst fears are seldom realized. Let's hope it's not the latter, as we wait to hear the fate of the women, children, and FBI agents inside the building. Jim, are you getting this?
Julius Caesar and Criminal Minds Minimal Loss episode comparison of themes. The plot of Julius Caesar is known to all of us. However, the plot of the Criminal Minds episode Minimal Loss is not. It begins with a couple of FBI agents going undercover in the religious cult titled the Septarian Sect. Benjamin Cyrus is the leader of this cult. He has many wives and is very strong in his religious beliefs. The cult was recently discovered through a 911 phone call. Cyrus then decides to take all of the people from the cult hostage, including the FBI agents who are undercover. He must be convinced to let out the hostages. This is the FBI's main concern throughout the episode, is getting the hostages out safely. The episode ends when Cyrus's endgame is accomplished. The compound blows up, and he manages to kill only a few people. In the end, Cyrus also ended up dead, as he allowed the police to shoot him and his wife to press the button to explode the compound.
In the hit TV show Criminal Minds and the theatric play of Julius Caesar, both have characters that are correlated one way or another. Cyrus and Brutus both strive to make a bold impact on the world, may it be giving people more freedom in Brutus's case, and for the better of Rome, or cleansing the community of non-believers, so it would be easier for them to follow their religion, for Cyrus. Both think that they're making the world a brighter place to live in, which leads to them both formulating a plan to put their beliefs into action. Both men are pursued by a spiritual driver. For Brutus, it is the honor and the responsibility of Rome, and for Cyrus, he believes that he was put here on this earth by God to make a difference.
The first comparison of the play Julius Caesar and the Criminal Minds episode Minimal Loss is that between the theme fate versus free will. Fate is seen much more clearly in the Criminal Minds episode, as fate is what drives Cyrus forward. Fate is what caused Cyrus to want to blow up the compound and to take over the Septarian cult.
Jeremiah 29:11. I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to bring you hope and a future. Is blowing yourself up part of the prosperous future that God wants?
You think you know the word better than I?
No, I'm just demonstrating that you can use the Bible to manipulate anything.
Matthew 10:24. Do not suppose that I have come to the earth to bring peace. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword.
Although fate is seen in the Julius Caesar play for Caesar, it is not seen very often with the character Brutus. For example, in Julius Caesar, Cassius says to Brutus, "Men are sometime our masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are the underlings." This quote shows how Cassius believes that it is up to him and Brutus to stop Caesar before he takes it too far, before he becomes a dictator. Brutus agrees with Cassius and decides to join the conspiracy without any evidence that Caesar is going to become a dictator. Brutus's decision to join the conspiracy is what shows that Brutus does not leave things up to fate. He uses his own free will to stop things before they start. Another instance of fate versus free will in the two stories is how both Brutus and Cyrus decided to kill themselves. Cyrus left it up to fate and allowed the police to shoot him, where Brutus took it into his own hands again and killed himself directly.
Prithee, straight home. Stay thou by thy lord. Thou art a fellow of a good respect. Thy life hath had some smatch of honor in it. Hold thou my sword. Turn away thy face while I do run upon it. Wilt thou, Strato?
Give me a hand first. Fare you well, my lord.
Farewell, good Strato. Caesar, now be still. I killed not thee with half so good a will.
This shows that both the characters use fate and free will completely differently. Cyrus uses fate to help make some of the biggest decisions of his life, where Brutus uses fate as a way to stop things before they can even begin.
Rhetoric and power parallels. Both Brutus and Cyrus had to explain their reasonings behind the actions they committed to the public so they would not get punished for what they did. Cyrus had to convince his followers on why he was the Messiah and why he should be the one in power. He did this by kicking out the old leader. Cyrus also had to convince the police on why not to shoot him and the people inside, because he tried to convince his religious situation. The reason he had to explain is because the police were standing outside and he wanted them to back down so he could take his operation to the max, by only cleansing the people inside the church. Or you could say the followers. On the other hand, Brutus had to give a whole speech that justifies why he killed their leader, Caesar, for the good of the people, so he would not have a huge frenzy and a rage that would ultimately backfire on him, getting him killed. There's another part in Criminal Minds and Julius Caesar where convincing has taken place. The FBI has just received a phone call about the cult, which eventually leads to Cyrus finding out there's an undercover agent inside his compound. This creates a spark in his eye, sending a threat. This means that the FBI agents have to bargain for their lives, hoping they make it out of the compound alive. This scene is equivalent to the letter that Artemidorus read to Caesar about the conspiracy against him that his friends were plotting. Inflexibility versus compromise parallels. Both Brutus and Cyrus are stubborn, rather inflexible people. Cyrus and Brutus have to bargain for things that will speed up their action plan. Cyrus has to be convinced to let children and followers go out of the compound that he's holding hostage in order to get food to actually survive. Brutus has to be convinced to join this conspiracy through letters, persuasion by Cassius, and a fateful dream. Both adapt to the surroundings and compromise and bargain for what their essential needs are. The only downfall from that is they can be easily manipulated if they need their things fast. They will be willing to sacrifice anything. The definition of the word inflexibility means unwilling to change or compromise, which in the political landscape, individuals must succeed through adaptivity, bargaining, and compromise in order to become successful in the political game. Both Brutus and Cyrus are stubborn, rather inflexible people who ultimately suffer in the end for it. Brutus is so rigid on his honorable ideas, leaving him open for manipulation by Cassius. In a way, he's very inflexible, unwilling to change his idea of the honor, passion. He also takes a downfall when Cassius suggests to kill Mark Antony, but Brutus says it would be unhonorable, so Cassius complies. Though in the end of the play, well, more like the middle, Mark Antony returns to avenge Caesar's death by manipulating the crowd, or the mob, to favor in his side. In the Criminal Minds episode, Cyrus is being inflexible towards the police when he refuses to let the undercover FBI agents go and holds them as hostage. Even though the police wants to bargain for the FBI agents, Cyrus will not comply, believing now that the FBI agents are a whole part of this god religion cult. This non-compliant method that Cyrus uses ultimately leads him down the wrong path. He starts running out of time as the police rush in to try to save all the hostages and the FBI agents. In Cyrus's mind, the only clear option is to blow up the place and sacrifice all those who are inside, cleansing the compound, and doing God's will.
Both the Julius Caesar play and the Criminal Minds episode Minimal Loss display similar themes, such as fate and free will, inflexibility and compromise, and rhetoric and power. All of these themes are shown throughout both stories. Although Brutus and Cyrus differ in fate versus free will, Brutus chooses to take things into his own hands and display free will, where Cyrus chooses to leave things up to fate. This difference is one of the very few between the two episodes, but it still shows the theme throughout both of the stories. Both inflexibility and compromise are shown in both stories, as both Cyrus and Brutus are extremely inflexible in their beliefs. However, in the end, both allow for some compromise, as Brutus is convinced to join the conspiracy, and Cyrus is convinced to let some hostages go that he believes will not follow him to his end game. Rhetoric and power is also shown in both stories, as both Brutus and Cyrus have to give convincing speeches to the people and to the government. Without these speeches, Brutus and Cyrus's endgames would not have been fully realized.
Countrymen, be patient till the last. Hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me for mine honor, and have respect to mine honor that you may believe. Censure me in your wisdom, and awake your senses that you may the better judge. Caesar! If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to him I say that Brutus' love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? No! No! As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. As tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who is here so base that will be a bondsman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so vile that will not love his country? If any speak, for him have I offended. I pause for a reply. None, Brutus, none! Then none have I offended. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. The question of his death is enrolled in the Capitol. His glory not extenuated wherein he was worthy, nor his offenses enforced for which he suffered death.
In the end, both Brutus and Cyrus are very similar characters who display the same themes throughout their stories.